Ladies and gentlemen, ears of corn all around the internet. Welcome to the Corn Chronicles. The search continues. This evening's guest is the one and only Melanie Kettles, who is yet another very special individual who accompanied me on my journey through international student exchange. But she took a very different route, or worked on a very different program to what I worked on. Melanie, why don't we, well, first of all, how are we doing this evening?
Sorry, what was that?
How are we doing this evening? You doing all right?
Doing pretty okay.
Yeah?
You?
I'm doing okay. We're taking it one day at a time here in the quarantine, but we're here to focus on other brighter things for at least a little while, you know?
Trying to stay focused on what you can control.
Indeed.
That's my mindset lately.
Yeah, every day. Every day.
Mm-hmm.
Melanie, with that in mind, why don't we start at the beginning? Can you kind of talk me through what led you to the work and travel program? What was it called again? CSB? Am I correct in that?
Yeah, CSB. Wow. So around that time, honestly, it literally fell into my lap, and I can say I'm just very grateful for the people that I have in my life who are like, hey, I have this great job opportunity. You want to try it out? And it's funny because I think right before that happened, I was actually living in New York City as a live-in nanny. And that was cool. But then I moved down to Florida because that didn't work out. So I came back home and I was working at some clothing store. And then a friend of ours, Emily, one of my childhood best friends, just reached out to me and she was like, hey, I have this, this job opportunity if you'd be interested. And it's funny because I didn't think twice. I was like, yep, I'll interview. And I think I was on the flight to New York like the day after or the day after that.
Oh.
And that's how it kind of just like unraveled. And it was my first, professional job, my first office job. And it just taught me a lot about, it was just, good times. But that's how I started. That's how I got into CSB. I didn't know much about the program in itself. I just kind of jumped on board and I was like, hey, I like to travel. I spent the almost 10 years before that traveling around the world. It can be beneficial to a bunch of university students around my age who are coming to America. So it just kind of was like, living the backpacker life for so long and then wanting to feel like I was doing something productive or successful in its own right. And of course, in my mind, having an office job, the complete opposite of like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing now. But since it had the travel aspect, it made me feel a little bit better about it. And that's where I was like, this is cool.
Well, I think for my part, I'm always going to be a little biased, but I definitely think you always brought breath of fresh air with you to that office. And certainly that kind of open mindset of that. It's amazing you mentioned like the backpacker lifestyle, and I feel like that kind of free mindset was pretty rare in that place. And I think that's part of the reason, we became relatively fast friends for sure. So I certainly appreciate that.
That's so true. It's so funny to think like I felt like just so vastly different from like the life that everyone else was living. And like sometimes that comes with like I feel like I just feel out of place. But I'm grateful for our chats every single day because they definitely, oh gosh, we stirred the pot there.
Like I think
part got me in trouble, Tom. I don't get in trouble, and you got me in trouble.
How did you do that? Oh no, I probably did that several days actually. I was often I think literally I kicked the door in one day.
So, okay, what did you get to meet the guy who works he replaced I don't know. See, this is okay, let me start. Do you watch Parks and Rec?
Yes.
Okay, so Larry, Jerry.
Oh, Jerry. Okay, yeah.
But that's the joke is that every day they change his name and you don't know.
Yeah.
So the guy who works at CSB now, his name is either Larry or Jerry or one of them, and I don't know which one it is. So every time I ask Brittany, I'm like, da 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 da, and then she doesn't get it because she's in one Parks and Rec. But I thought you'd appreciate that. So.
Oh yeah, tremendous. We gotta get on that. Maybe I'll surprise her one Tuesday, and I'll just say, I'll just give her a call, and be like, Brittany.
Oh my gosh, I miss her so much. I mean, we talk every day through Snapchat and things like that, but it's like, it's so funny just thinking, like, reminiscing on my life at that time. And it was just like, my life was good, you know, like thinking back and like, I had a good job, like I was happy, like there was such good memories about that time in my life, you know, so thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah. Oh no, of course. And you know, it was a good time. I mean, I still talk. I don't think a week goes by. I just had James on the program not a week ago, and we'll get to that. Don't worry. Help yourself to a cup of coffee if you want.
I have never been more embarrassed because I had no idea. I still, to this day, had no idea until you told me. You know, when you just like go through life being like, yeah, that's the way, and that is so funny to me.
And man, we are going to talk about it later, but that was
sorry.
That was genuinely one of the few times where like as soon as James told me like that's the situation, I was like, let me tell her, you know. Like I wanted to be that person so bad. Anyway,
you had too much fun with that. We had a lot of. I feel like it's one of those very rare office settings where, like, your workload is, you know, you're drowning in it. You're stressed out to the point that, you know, but at the same time, like, I don't know, there's some element of it that like you could go to at your colleague's door. Like I just remember Gary too is such a person that I like sought out to just chat with all the time. And it's like, there's some good people in there and there's some good times. And it's like having a job where you have to work so hard, but you have that element of fun right there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just makes it a little bit smoother.
Well, for me, and I get that it's a balance because like I look back on my life now and there are a great many things that I'm content about with my life. But I also look back just like you. I see how much I used to travel, and I see, quite frankly, not that I'm doing poorly now, but quite frankly, it was more of a career what I was doing then.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, the work was such a 24/7 undertaking. And
I'm pretty sure you and I were the only people who were like the 24 hotlines. Like, does anyone understand what it's like to be someone who has to answer a phone like 24/7? That is stressful. I'm just saying.
It was heavy. I remember very distinctly. I don't think this is much of a story, but it was just you and I happened to be texting, and then you were just like, "Hang on, I just got a call," and I'm like, "Me too," and we were just like, "Where's yours from?" And you were like, "California" or something, and I'm like, "Mine's from British Columbia," you know. And it's just like, it's such a cruddy conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like neither one of us is pleased. You know what I'm saying? Oh man.
And it's like every up, it's like, yeah, what's the worst thing that your kid did today, or what problem did you have to deal with? It's like you're essentially like counseling hundreds of kids on top of that because they don't have the support network here. You are their support network.
And then you're trying to be the mediator between the other country and the school or the place.
And then government agencies that want to, it's just like, think of every impossible avenue when it comes to immigration and like having to do all of that from every angle for multiple people. I feel like it's a lot of responsibility. It taught me a lot, and I'm grateful that I'm like, I think I have good work ethic now thanks to all of the responsibility that I had at CSB. But I remember there were times that it was just like a lot, you know?
Yeah, I think that's really fair to say. I think work-wise, short of like finishing things quickly, that's because that's still like kind of a struggle for me, being a little too methodical, but like work-wise, there's nothing I can't do, you know? And say what you will, and I wouldn't go back, but like for that to be your result, in addition to doing some cool traveling around the world and meeting some great people, great kids, great, man, like pretty cool life experience indeed. Pretty cool.
That's why I'm like, I try not to look back on, I mean, I'm just at a point right now in my life, like, I think that since we spoke last year when I came to New York, and even then I was not really in a good place. And I think that I've made a lot of lifestyle changes and, you know, just going to therapy every week. I just didn't like all those things that like really help bring your perspective back together.
Yeah.
And I can finally, like, I feel like I'm at a place where I can look back at the things that I've gone through my life, even the bad stuff, and be like, all right, this is the lesson I learned from it. This is how I grew in that way. But it took so much time to get there to be able to see anything negative with any positive perspective. Right. But get in there.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, man, everything's day by day. You know that.
Yeah, that's, oh God, never been truer. Like literally day by day.
True enough. Yeah, but like you mentioned, we were working so 24/7 that you had to have the fun outlets because you were there anyway. You know, like there was no, oh, I'll talk to you after 5, you know, because like after 5, like I'm going to be busy, you know, still working, you know. On your last day, you texted me at like 9 p.m. saying like, hey, did you look under your car windshield yet? And I'm like, no, I haven't left the office. And it was like, damn.
I remember that actually. Yeah. Tom, I remember doing that, like leaving the note for you and then being like, okay, he drove home and it blew away and then he's never going to read it. And like, that's that. And then I didn't have the patience to wait. I completely forgot about that.
Oh, no. I still have it. It's hanging up right over there. I have a wall.
Oh, I have yours in my room, actually, and I have my koala slippers that have traveled to New Zealand and back, and I will never part ways with them. They are just my favorite. Thank you. Oh, they're the best.
I got the photo of me and Hans in the sling, you know.
That was a great time. That was my birthday, right? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, Long Island is very like, you know, I was born and raised there, but then I come back and I leave as an adult. That's like this little memories of it. And it's like, that was a really nice birthday. Long was fun. Long Island, I talk a lot of crap about Island sometimes, and I'm like, it's really not that.
You know what it is? Because I think big picture, like, Long Island is a little rough, but, you know, it's all about the people you meet along the way that kind of remind you that it's not all that rough, you know. I think that sums up Long Island to me anyway.
That's a good.
So.
Because, yeah, you can any city or state and find those.
Oh, I missed that, Melanie. I'm so sorry. Say that again.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. It was glitching for me. You're good.
Okay. What did you say, though?
I forgot already. I'm not even kidding with you. I actually, in that, I forgot. So don't worry. That's
Fair enough. So I'm going to go ahead and share. I think we've already jumped in a little bit on, you know, kind of you and I became fast friends. And I think because we had a similar mindset, but I also think not a week goes by where I don't talk to either Tal, Mike, or Jake. Not a week goes by. And sometimes any combination of the three. And I love those guys. But, well, not fun. Talking to them was so lovely. And they're some of my best friends in the world. But there was always like work in the background, you know? Part of the reason talking to you was so is like, there was never anything work related. We never overlapped. So like whenever like I saw you, I'd be like, oh shoot, yeah. And then I'd like to think that like something similar, like when I popped in, it's just like, hell yeah, man. Like we're not talking about work for the next 10 minutes, you know?
Yes, that is so true, because even though our programs were so similar, like there really was no, so we could have general conversations about like, oh yeah, you know, where these kids are from or whatever, but you're so right. And that we couldn't get sucked into the like, it was our time to just turn off from our stuff for like just a few minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
How necessary is that?
Yeah, oh, it's vital. Absolutely vital. I'm going to take me back. To be honest, it's my first memory of meeting you, but for reasons I'm about to explain, I barely remember meeting you. You brought up Emily moments ago. And Emily was lovely. I don't think I've spoken to her since, probably since I left ISE.
She came to New Zealand.
What's that?
I think I told you that. But she came to visit me in New Zealand. But I think I told you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she came she came at the end of last year, and that was the last time I really like spoke, like properly seen her and spoken to her. But just wanted to mention.
Now that you mentioned,
She's the best. Sorry. Okay, continue.
oh no, she is 100%. I remember because you and her were working on the program together. She took you around to introduce you to the author. And while this was happening, I was in Tal's office. I wasn't in my own office. And in fairness to us, we were probably doing work, you know. But I remember Emily introducing you to Lois, right? And then I remember Emily literally walking right by Mike's office without introducing you, and like completely just like ignoring that Mike was there. And Mike's a quiet dude if you don't know him, you know what I'm saying? So I was just like I literally see her like bearing like, headed to Saul's office, and I'm like, yo, Mike just got some love. And you see Mike like look over from his window and like, you know, like did that just happen? Did I just get stuff? And so
You know,
I literally blacked out. Like I was just laughing at Mike. And so Emily comes in and like introduces, and I'm already lost. I'm just like, oh, nice to meet you, you know? Like, and I don't retain a damn thing from that introduction, man. I just remember Mike getting snubbed, and it's something that comes up to this day. Man, oh, man.
that is hilarious because, okay, I'm going to tell you something. I don't think that Michael and I ever exchanged a word in our time together. And now I know why.
Yeah.
I have like totally figured out why I never felt comfortable talking to him, even acknowledging him, maybe because like I'm so awkward as well. So then in the beginning, if we don't have that little interaction, like it's done, it's doomed. Like we don't exist to each other, I guess. So it's like that awkward, like just maybe passing. I don't think we ever actually like spoke words. And that is so funny because I'm sure if I brought it up to Emily, she would have no idea. Like both of us were so oblivious to that. That's pretty funny.
And I remember having little conversations with each one of you where I'd be like, nah, dude, she's cool. And then like I would say to you, like, nah, man, he's great. He's freaking awesome, you know? And man, it just never really came to be, I guess. But splendid time. I'll never forget.
That is such a great memory. I'm so glad that you remember that in such vivid detail as well.
What I think too, I might not be accurate. This might have been two separate times, which knowing Tal, it might have been two separate times. But it was also one of those things where Emily, or one time, and it might have been for yours, I don't remember. In my fantasy, it was for yours. Somebody went to introduce Tal, and Tal literally reached out his hand and said, Director of Operations. Like he doesn't say his name, and like a total like unintentionally like smug jerk. He's just like, hi, I'm Director of Operations. Okay. Hey, like, yeah, okay. Why don't you give her a business card, bro?
Was that? I don't think it was me because I would have remembered that and been like, wow, that's really funny. I don't remember. It's funny because I remember Tal being the lawyer. That's all I remember. He just has those, like, the way he presents himself is like the Director of Operations, like in life, you know? So I just was like, okay, I accept you. I accept that. That's, you know, he was so nice though. Like he was such a nice guy. From the little interaction that I had, he was just such a pleasant person. It was just, that was really funny. I remember, oh my gosh. That is a great memory.
I learned a lot from Colin. There's nobody better than Colin. Absolutely. Now, one of my favorite Melanie memories has to do with Tom. Because in my opinion, I'm not even being facetious in the least way. Like they ought to have like an annual parade for you for this moment, for the amount of laughs that it gave the little SMG group. I remember very vividly. I cannot forget. You come up to me one morning and we're around the water cooler or coffee machine. And to this day, I don't know if you would have said something if we didn't happen to be standing at the coffee machine. But I try not to think about it. Instead, that guy, and you just kind of do like this chin thing. He's just like, what's it, like tall? Like you didn't even know the name. You were just like, he was on News 12 last night.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Holy shit. Tom, your memory is like, this is insane. I don't even, wow. Okay, I'm sorry. You need to finish the story because, oh my God. That is.
Man, dude, so I have to admit, like, you and I at that point were friends, like stone cold friends, all right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking in my head, if I'm being honest with you, I'm like, Melanie, you're brilliant, you're talented, but you don't even know the last name. I doubt he was on News 12. Like, I'm definitely like grain of salt, you know? Like, whatever, you know?
I love the amount of trust that you had in me before knowing. That's, to be fair, I would probably react the same way though. That, oh my gosh.
And so I'm not dismissive, but I'm definitely wary. I'm just like, okay, like, sweet, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure.
Exactly that. Do you want me to leave the half and half out for your coffee, Melanie?
Do you remember how you responded to me? Because I'm like, I'm not trying to remember if I was like, no, did I get like defensive? Like, no, it was him, or did you just kind of like, yeah.
Well, you were just like, oh no, I'm pretty sure, and I'm just, you know, like I still don't know what to do with that. I'm like, what was he doing on News 12? And I think you were like, I don't really know. It was on at like the gym or something like that. I don't really, you know, like I don't think you were watching News 12, but it was just like, yeah, I just kind of saw him and they were interviewing him. And so lo and behold, man, like as soon as we're done talking, like I've never like moved quicker, and I don't stop. I literally go to Mike and I'm just like go to news12.com.
You're so.
And he's just like, okay, you know, and I'm just like, all right, man, search this and just she said something about exercise. They were talking about exercise. I'm like, search exercise, and then eventually we find this video and we hit play, and Tall comes up, and we both literally go, oh my God, you know, like we can.
I told you. and then now Tall hates me because I just put him on blast with.
Man, I think we watched that probably a dozen times in a row. I think just that whole segment of him holding his little coffee cup, telling us the difference between anaerobic and aerobic exercise. You know, man, dude. Yes. So, man, one, that's another thing that I bring up to Tom to this day. Two, that's another thing that I not only smile about at least 3 times a year, but laugh out loud about in a very literal way. And I just love how you were just casually, just like, oh, like rather than stand here in silence while we get our coffee, I'll bring up the fact that I saw Tall on News 12, and it wound up being this defining moment of.
And it's so funny because I remember at the time I was living with a friend and her parents. So I remember we were watching some show and then the news came on, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I know that guy. Like, I know that guy. And they're all like, who is that? And I'm like, I don't know his name. He's just in my office. Like, I know that face. I know it. And then I went on this whole thing. I don't even remember if I texted Emily and like, hey, did you see? Oh my God. That is so funny. I just remember like, wow, that's so funny. I can't believe you remember that. Wow.
Not a million years. Now, Melanie, let's go back. Let's take things full circle to what came up a little bit earlier. And speaking of coffee and things that you use to drink your coffee, I think most of us.
So you know. Sorry, go ahead.
No, oh, please. I think most of us can relate to having a favorite coffee mug. Can you tell me about one of yours when you were there at CSB?
So I remember seeing like, you know, I'm one of those, like, I know that people have their favorite things, but I am like I have my favorite mug, and then that is the mug that I drink coffee out of every single day until something happens to that mug, and nothing will change that. So then I think at this time I didn't bring my Johnny Depp mug into the office because this is what inspired that. But I remember seeing this really cool mug with like the Canada flag on it. So I was like, that's the chosen one. That was my chosen one. So every single morning I'd make myself a cup of coffee with my little Canadian mug and mind my business. And that's my side of the story.
Right. Until it all came crashing down, didn't it? From my perspective, I ran the Canadian program with a ton of help from my colleague James. But James was mostly selling the Canadian program. I was very much running. So James and I both have an affinity for Canada, the program, the country, the way of life, you know. And
Hey.
forget I said the way of life. As we wear matching ski suits.
I can picture that.
I could too, which is scary, man. We definitely could have done like a Canadian Christmas card every year of just us in themed costumes.
It's never too late, Tom. That's all I have to say. It's never too late.
Baby, you would probably do it, man. You would do it. Like, if I took the embarrassing one, if I took the embarrassing costume, you would do it. Like, if one of us dressed up, if he got to dress up like a hunter and I dressed up like a beaver or something, like, he would do it. That would be.
That's the only way, though?
Well, that's what came to mind first, which probably doesn't speak highly of me. But yeah, man, if like he got to be a hunter and I'm just there and like as an evergreen tree, you know?
I'm trying to imagine you in the lumberjack getup, and that's equally hard to place like an image in my mind. Yeah. So
no doubt. Yeah. There are I don't have a lot of range in that sense, you know.
Oh God, I love that.
When I was trying to be a writer more seriously, I did a photo shoot with a dear friend of mine, especially at the time, but to this day, she's a lovely young woman. And we're doing this photo shoot. It's going pretty well, you know. Like I can be a photogenic guy when I want to be, you know. And but she said to me, I'll never forget, in the middle of the thing, she's like, you know, you don't have to smile for all of them.
That's kind of amazing.
And I was just like, oh, like my confidence was shattered in an instant, because like we're finally like an hour in, and I'm just like, maybe I am a model, you know?
Oh my God. But I can't make fun of you because I am the same. Like, I am the person who smiles in my, like, anytime I show someone my driver's license or my passport, everyone's like, why were you allowed to smile? I'm like, I don't know. They didn't tell me otherwise. If no one's telling me not to smile, I'm going to smile. So I'm with you on that. But that's really funny.
I'm about to make it worse. But you know what, man? Part of the show is for me to look like an idiot, man. If we're really going to talk about my life, you got to talk about the low points too. I remember getting my photo for my permit, my learner's permit. And I smile at the damn thing. And the DMV woman, this old woman, says, what are you trying to do? Catch bugs in your teeth? Like,
what does that even mean?
Lights me up, man. Like, I guess like I was smiling with my mouth open. Like, oh man, it was just crushing, man. Like a lot of strangers have just like really trampled on, you know, my spirit over the course of my life.
I would have, you know what? I would have just immediately just closed my mouth and done like a straight smile just to be petty to myself, because she doesn't care. But like, that's my mindset of like, fine, you don't want me to smile? I'll show you.
No bugs getting in here, lady.
It's funny because I got my photo for my license taken just last year. And the lady, it's so funny because in the beginning we were butting heads because like I'm defensive and reactive because I was just very agitated about, by the way, moving a car from New York to Florida is probably one of the most frustrating life obstacles I've ever gone through, which is just so weird, but it was just a freaking nightmare to get my, yeah, that's a whole other thing. But she took the photo and then she kept being like, oh no, honey, that one's, no. She like, she kept doing them until she liked one. Yeah, I don't know how that happened. I got lucky there.
My God.
Yep. She didn't look at them. She was like, no, honey, we're not doing this one. You need to smile again. And I'm like, shit. So I'm very proud of my driver's license. I'm always like, guys, you want to see it? Because it's like she actually waited to get a good photo. I was like, I'll take it. So sometimes the DMV wants to help you. Sometimes.
No doubt. Well, maybe I should go do it in Florida then, man.
Yeah, everyone's nicer down here, I think, so. I don't know what's going on in Florida right now, how the beaches are being, why.
Yeah, no, man, we're not.
Yeah.
You won't catch me there.
Yeah, we're not going down there, sorry, but all I'm saying is Florida doesn't get a good reputation all the time, and I'm like, yep, we have that for a reason, that's all.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Well, I mean, I'd like to think that to an extent I can try and stop that kind of behavior. You know, I could be one for the positive, I think, I'm hoping. But we'll cross that when we come to it. Tried and almost succeeded in getting me sidetracked. We got to go back to this Canadian moment. So.
Yes. I'm sorry.
No. We're not getting off that easy. So, James and I, before we started making themed Christmas cards, we're running the Canadian program. And so James comes into me one day, and he's just like, "Hey, man, have you seen my Canada mug?" And I'm just like, "No." You know, like I don't even look up. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, "Nah, I haven't." He's just like, "Really, man?" Like, I don't know. It just kind of disappeared. And like, I'm thinking to myself, like, who else really runs Canada? And I'm just like, at that point, like I stopped, you know, from the little paperwork, and I look up, and I'm just like, "Nah, man, I don't have your mug." It's like, okay, all right. Just keep an eye out for it, I guess. And I'm like, okay. So I guess I passively do. And I wish for the sake of the story that I'm the one who found it. But just like, I remember maybe a couple weeks later, James comes into me and he's all like hush hush, you know, and it's just like, "Hey, so remember when I told you about my Canada mug? How I couldn't find it?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, man, I did." And it's just like, "I found it." And I'm just like, "Oh, good, you found it." It's like, "Guess who has it?" And I'm like, "Ooh, it's on Melanie's desk." Man, which had me like triple taken, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, "Oh." And immediately, how you know, like I'm not a nice guy, you know, is I'm just like, "I'll tell her," you know.
Can I ask one question? Was he mad? Did he come in like he was mad?
Not mad. I think he was just kind of confused, you know. Like I think he was just like, why would she have it? You know what I'm saying? Like it was more like.
It's my mug. And okay, wait. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. You go ahead. I'm sorry. I just remembered something very vividly, which I was like, doesn't have his name on it, so I'm pretty sure I said that to you.
Yeah, you bet. I remember that, and once he got it back, he did write his name on it.
Oh my God, it's funny because I thought that it was like written on the bottom, and I just didn't see it. But I'm glad that it wasn't written on it. So I did have a.
But bottom line,
that is
the mystery of this Canadian mug, for it to wind up on your desk, and for me to like, probably with no subtlety at all, to be like, "Yo, guess what? No, you took James' mug," you know, like I probably said it with like no tact at all. But man, what a treasured memory.
I remember you walking in and being like, it was like the funniest thing in the world happened to you, and I had no idea what was going on, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm the butt of the joke," and I had no idea.
But in fairness, there were a lot of times where I came in like the funniest thing in the world happened to me, and I came right to you.
I'll take it. So I was always like, what do we have?
Yeah, exactly. Like, yes, there was definitely like this mindset of just like Melody would be like, "All right, give me 2 seconds. Okay, now what?" You know?
I just feel like anything, I'm trying to remember any of the other shenanigans that we just like got into, like, because like we were adults, you know, we couldn't really be childish, but like, you know, to have fun, sometimes you have to be a little bit childish, We're talking
to a guy who loves Sesame Street, man. Like, I get it, man.
Oh God, I always forget. that's what I mean. I think that just looking back on that, if you didn't work there, I don't know how I would have gotten by, to be honest, you know, until Brittany came along. And then Brittany is just, you know, she's Brittany. I just can't. She's just one of the best people I've It's just so consistent. She's just so consistent. She doesn't, not that she doesn't care, but she like doesn't take people's shit. She just is who she is unapologetically, and she doesn't care what you think. And she doesn't have that in your face about it. You know, it's so weird. Like, she's just so confidently, genuinely herself. And there's nothing that, it's just such a great thing to meet someone like that, who's so happy with who they are, just the way they are. And it's like, gosh, she's great.
Absolutely. And she was very patient with me too, because there were definitely a lot of things where I was just like, "Hey, Brittany," and she's like, "Yeah." You know, I remember. I don't even know what prompted me to get in there, but since you brought up me just being a child, or us just being children around each other, I remember so vividly, and I don't remember what prompted it. And to an extent, I'm glad I don't. But I remember so vividly something happening. And I was like eating a cookie, but I was so excited that something happened where I was literally just like, "Yo, Melanie," and just like nothing but crumbs came out of the desk. I was like, "Oh no, I'm sorry." And you're like, "No, it's fine." And I'm like, "I'll go get a paper towel." She's like, "No, I have tissues." And you're like picking up my mouth crumbs like I'm 8 years
That's what friends do, Tom. Oh my God.
"Oh, you gotta check this out," you know.
And it's really funny because I remember that, like, me venturing to your office or your side of this was because I remember both buildings before we moved to the Bayshore location. Your office was pretty far, but since I was, you know, when Anka, she left on maternity leave, I was running the program by myself. So I couldn't, like, I could use the bathroom and come back, but I couldn't, like, wander away from the phone for a few minutes. You know what I mean? So it was always, like, I would always, like, make, like, mental notes of, like, all right, when Tom stops by, this is what I'm going to, like, something funny happened and I'm going to tell him. But I couldn't walk away from my desk at that moment to do that. So I would just keep, like, tabs and then be like, when you come, that's my time of fun. Let it out.
Yeah, indeed. And plus, I was always right in front of Wayne's office too, which always made it a little more. It's a little harder when Wayne is very much in earshot to kind of be that kind of person. Although that said, Wayne knew I was a kid too. One of my favorite memories with Wayne is I was doing something, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I like that you're doing it that way. I used to do that when I was working on the railroad." And I said to him, "Did you work all the live long day?" And he literally just looked at me, and I was just like, "All right," you know.
He was not gonna fucking bite it. Not gonna do it. Oh my God, that's hysterical.
Yeah.
And that was that. And he.
There was a lot of that with Wayne. You know, like, I have to imagine that there were at least a dozen times in over 4 years where Wayne was just like, "It's a good thing he's good at his job," you know?
That is.
I would pop in and be like, "Lois got me this Cookie Monster," and he'd be like, "Oh yeah," and I'd be like, "Yeah." Oh man.
Those programs are like, they're so well, like, run and established, and I get that, and I feel grateful to, like, learn from, you know, Anka for me was my first, like, big boss that she was the first introduction I got into having a very strong like, woman leader, but she can be that way and be compassionate. Like, I'm very lucky now to work with a lot of women that I look up to and, like, my mentors and things like that. But I just remember feeling like I always look back on being so grateful for my time with Anka, because I learned how to I learned how to work very hard, but I also learned how to just do it. She's a graceful person, and she's a very kind person, but you would never, you know what I mean? She just has that balance about her. And I feel very lucky to have worked for her as long as I did. She has a lot to, I don't know. And she's such a great mom. I just really admire her as a person. And, I catch up with her once in a while, but I just always wish her the best. And I'm just grateful for like learning everything that I did from her. And, she learned from Wayne too. So like all of them, what they've built and how hard they worked for all these kids, it's really cool to see. And I'm grateful to be a part of it,
I mean, I have similar, certainly, feelings about Tall. Even the guy before Tall, his name is Brian, and to be honest, I don't think he had much passion and humanity about him. But in terms of like learning what the expectation was for programs like that, I definitely learned a lot from him, and certainly cut my teeth in a lot of ways. Learned what not to do, what to do. And what I would say all the time to everybody, and you know as well as I do, that a lot of people come and go from that place. And for you to last more than a year there has to be something special,
Yes. Yeah. You're so right. I think I was there like a year exactly. And I would have stayed if it wasn't for, my circumstances that everything happened at that time. I would have stayed there much longer. But
Yeah.
that's such a good point that I think that, yeah, once you start there, you just know whether or not you can, I don't know, it's difficult. It's really hard. But like you said, like the people is what makes can make it or break it for you, I think,
Yeah, because I mean, it's at all hours. It's a dynamic a workplace as any that exists, and you have to care. Like it's one of those few. It's really one of the few job descriptions I can think of where like you could be the brightest cat in the world, but if you don't truly care about what you're doing, and that sounds so simple, but it's not. You need to have an investment of yourself, which is part of what made the job so difficult. But that's what, made us all so special, quite frankly. You, me, Gary, Bill, all that,
That's something I never really thought about, because, we're in the business side of it, but, my thing has always been mental health. That's the field I've always kind of planned on going into. So for me, it's like, that is a natural thing for me to care about people, but at this level, like getting to see how much that actually affects these kids, because we're organizing their flights and getting their jobs and their leases, like we're managing things like that, but when a student calls you and tells you like I'm scared or I'm alone or all these things, like if you don't know how to emotionally handle those things, like it's not that I'm not saying you're bad at the job, but it makes it a lot easier when you have some compassion that you're able to share with other people. And I think that's what really makes the difference, because that's exhausting, but it's so rewarding. And I think that's what made it so great for so many of us. Like we knew how many people we were genuinely helping.
Right. Exactly. And I mean, in a sense, your natural inclination has to be, you have to be willing to pull the plug on your life to help somebody else's. A lot of mid-concert phone calls from British Columbia because of the time difference. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Definitely one time in Patchogue. Where I was well on my way to, being a little impaired. And suddenly I got some phone calls and I was like, oh no, I can't. I gotta get, I gotta settle down, drink some water, and can I use this room? You know what I'm saying? So I mean,
same here.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, tell me about it. Yeah. Boy, oh boy. I can honestly though, I can look you in the eye and say that only happened once. Definitely a lot of intrusions, but only once was it just like, oh no, like I'm not prepared for this. But anyway, that's another story.
That was one time. I'm gonna turn my light on. Sorry.
No, don't worry.
Sorry, one second.
No, okay. Ah, there it is. Right on.
Okay, we're good. Sorry.
Sounded like you were making fire there real quick.
Oh yeah, I was hold on, I'm so sorry. My
All good.
it got dark in Florida and then everything changed.
Right.
Sorry. We good.
So Melanie and I have obviously spent a lot of time talking about work because, like we mentioned, it's where we spend a lot of time. And it's also something that we both cared about and we're definitely invested in. But we also found some time to hang out and discuss things not work related. And there were definitely a couple of Alive After Fives in Patchogue where we had the opportunity to meet up with, groups of friends and what have you. And one of the times I had the pleasure of meeting your brother and your mom, who was in town. And I remember very distinctly going to Hoptron Boutique, I believe, and getting to know your brother, which was awesome, man. I thought he was so cool, and I'm sure he still is. That's not something that changes. And
he's great. I love him.
But I do remember, and this is where probably, the 3 beers were talking more than anything else. I remember winding up so embarrassed at one point that night because for some reason, something came up where like Nick Lachey and 98 Degrees came up in conversation. And I wasn't involved in that. But I have one story where my buddy in Atlantic City got like lost in a casino.
I'll actually tell you why that came up.
Yes, please, because it's far more interesting than my story. It really is, please.
No, I just randomly remember at that time, 98 Degrees. Oh wait. It was either, I'm pretty sure it was 98 Degrees or O-Town or both of them, but it was like a bunch of boy bands that came to perform on Long Island at that time. And Emily and her friends went, I think, and they invited me. And that's all I remember about why we would be talking about boy bands at that time.
There you go. Well, that makes sense. And I, in the infinite wisdom of 3 beers Tom, said like, let me tell you about this. And the whole story is genuinely one time, a buddy of mine in Atlantic City, he got turned around in a casino and I had to come find him. And the only frame of reference he had was he was in front of a poster for Nick Lachey.
Why are there still posters of Nick Lachey anywhere?
So,
okay.
He was probably just like singing in a casino or something. It sounds like something,
Oh, he wrote a book recently, so that okay, fair enough. He's trying to be relevant still, so got it.
Well, hey man, he's doing it. I'm not gonna sit here and bomb on Nick Lachey,
I have some like built-up resentment because like Backstreet Boys are my thing, so we can't be positive about any other boy band but Backstreet Boys, and you should know that's how it works, Tom.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I want it that way. No, okay. All right. Yes. Okay. If we just could do the rest of the interview in all boy band quotes until we say that would be really fair.
I could probably speak in just boy band lyrics from the 90s for the rest of for this. I could probably do that. I'm not going to, but I probably could.
Well, this I promise you. No, all right. I really.
Yes.
I'm very good at this. Man, oh man.
You are so good. That's why I'm not going to try because I know that you're going to be better at it. So that's why I'm not going to bother.
I do not know where this is coming. But if there were to be a winner, it's going to be me.
That's why. Okay, wait, really quickly. I love puns. Like, I love puns so much, Tom. But, like, I never bothered telling you because, like, I don't understand how your brain, just anything, you just managed to do it. And it's like, I'm, like, embarrassed because my puns are so just down here compared to yours where I just always, God, how did you do it?
I don't know. I think it's more things misfiring than things firing correctly.
That makes it that much better, to be honest. So
I think there are some severe lapses in other areas. Um,
oh god.
but anyway, the whole story is me trying to find my friend in Atlantic City and a poster of Nicholas Shea. And so I get about 30 seconds into this, and all Melanie's friends and her gosh darn family is listening to this story. And I swear to God, I get about 30 seconds into the story, and I'm like, why would they care about this story? Like they don't know me, much less they know my friend, you know. And I'm literally just like, speaking of 98 degrees, one time a friend of mine, we were in Atlantic City.
But that's who I am. Like, I will find any piece of like, oh, I remember that. But I do the same. I probably was like hyping you up to be honest, because I love random stories like that. That's so great. But okay, sorry. Wait, so what happened to your friend?
So I just, oh no, we're not going to tell that story again. I'm not going to make the same mistake twice.
I forgot though. Now I can't. I feel like oh, okay.
Eventually I found him, and he got a little emotional. He didn't cry, but he gave me a big hug. And he's like, it's so good to see a familiar face. And I'm just like, yeah, man, I'm glad you're okay. Like, it was pretty deep. Not for nothing. For a casino in Atlantic City, it was pretty intimate. I'm not going to lie. But my point is, I got about 30 seconds into this story before I realized that nobody cares about this story, nor should they care about this story. So not only am I telling this story, but then I try to start like fast forwarding the story. So I'm not wasting people's time. So it basically turns into me saying like, one time we were in Atlantic City and my buddy got lost in a casino and Nicholas Shea was playing there. And so we spent a long time on the phone, and eventually I found him in front of the poster and he was really glad to see me. and that's the freaking story. And like, if you were there and you know Chris Carey, I love him so much. And if you know me a little bit, like, yeah, man, like that's kind of funny. That's a pretty cool story. But like to a bunch of strangers, that's just like, cool. Like, what the hell, man? And I just remember like getting to the end of that, being so embarrassed, saying like, okay, I'm gonna get another drink, and thinking that just, like, nobody at the table is going to want to talk to me ever again.
That is really, I'm so sad that you have that. Well, I'm sad that you were embarrassed because I hope I didn't. Tough crowd. Jeez. I hope I laughed because I think it's funny, but
no doubt. I don't think it was the crowd's fault. Let's be very honest about that. I think that was all on me.
It's funny though, because I wonder, like, by the end of the night, you and my brother were just getting along so well. It's so funny. Like, anytime I take my brother anywhere, like, he becomes better friends with everyone than me, and I'm just like, okay, thanks, fine. That's happened in New Zealand. Like, I took him to New Zealand, and then all my friends just adored him, and I was like, okay, cool. He's your friend now, I guess.
Yeah, he's gonna be on the show tomorrow. No.
Yeah. Speaking of, how's your sister doing?
Doing okay. She's teaching in Long Beach, here on Long Island, living in Babylon still, right up the road from where we work. And, so she's quarantined, trying to do her best, gosh darn, audio not rehearsals, good Lord, but like lessons, computer lessons.
Lesson plans, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I give her all the credit in the world, man. I mean, you talk about fields that have been flipped upside down, that's certainly one of them. But big picture, she's doing all right. And what's cool, I mean, I can't speak for her, but like, I'm relieved that I feel like she gets to stay home more than anybody in my family. So, I mean, at least she has that going for her, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, it is what it is. She's doing all right.
Well, kudos to her, because Emily's a teacher too, so I can see how much of like no matter how good you are as a teacher, it's a struggle to keep everyone entertained and like not entertained, you know what I mean? Like to get everyone engaged and all those things. So I just give teachers so much credit right now. So I'm glad that your sister's pushing through. Major kudos. Wow.
The task goes on.
Yeah.
You know, after Nick Lachey, it's hard to really go anywhere. But
Sorry. It's so funny because they're all coming back. They're all becoming very relevant again, and it's just bringing back so many memories from my childhood. And I'm like, oh God, you're like, it's so weird, Tom, to be like when you're a kid and to like, you know, boy bands, like they're cute boys that you, and you know, Britney Spears is pretty, and then it's like everyone's adults now, and it's like, oh wow. It's like, I don't know. I'm like, what the hell happened to everyone? Like, everyone's just like a dad, and like, it's fine. It's just really funny to think like how we like idolized a bunch of random people, like obsession, like people we didn't know, and now they're just regular human beings that
Right.
just like, I don't know.
And sometimes you look at them, it's just like, boy, they got older. Good thing I stayed the same, you know?
It's cool though. Some of them you just been living their lives, and it's funny because it's like they don't age as fast because it's like, wow, like stepping out of the spotlight, kind of just, you know, going back to a nice, normal, quiet life. There's some people who do that, just become very successful and then just take that and run. And I'm like, not that there's anything wrong with being like a, you know, making millions for the rest of your life. Like, sure, that's great too, but
you have to fill out an application for that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh goodness.
Under skills, ukulele. Yeah.
Gosh, you've been playing, yeah.
Yeah. You know, all right. I haven't really spoken about this to much of anyone, certainly not publicly, but like my thing, somebody weeks ago, right when all this kind of first started, asked me to play the song about breakfast. And I didn't know what the song he meant. And so it was just kind of like, you know, what does that mean? I don't know. He's just like, I don't know, just play the song about breakfast. You know the song. And then eventually I figure out what song he means. And so I'm not immune to sharing that stuff online. I'm not. But like, I tend to do that pretty rarely, like pretty literally, like only 3 times a year, where I'll be like, hey, I learned this song that y'all might like it. But when I shared this particular one in kind of the landscape of what we're experiencing, I had about 10, 12 people reach out to me. And very genuinely, of those 10, 12 people, only 2 of them were like, wow, you're so talented. And that's always been kind of my reason not to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't, that stuff makes me a little uncomfortable. You know, like I love to do it, but it's not.
That's not the reason you do it?
Yeah, you never want it to be like, I freaking hate that. You know what I'm saying? I hate it. But I heard from somebody else who said, hey, I really needed to hear this today. And I heard from somebody else who lost someone very close to them, and someone that I used to play music with sometimes in high school. And she said, hey, right now I'm missing Rob pretty bad, and he used to always love playing with you so much, and seeing your video really made me think of that. And my buddy writes to me and says, like, hey, this made me think of a story you wrote. Would you mind, can I read that story? You know, and to kind of witness that kind of ripple effect and realize that none of it had to do with vanity, you know? And it was kind of really eye-opening to me to say, like, you know what? I'm not in high school anymore. Like, people know I'm not doing this for attention. You know what I'm saying? There's bigger stuff at play here when I do things like that, you know? And between kind of a shifting of my mindset on what it means to share yourself like that, and also just straight up needing the outlet for myself more, just because I don't have other ones, you know,
exactly
right now. It's been really a different time. So I've been just kind of making an effort to share, you know, more like once a week, some music, and certainly these things, these talks. So it's been, I have been playing more often recently, yeah.
That's the thing though, Tom, you know, I think it's so important that, like, I feel like everyone during these times, everything I don't know that there's many people who feel like fine and like genuinely well, no matter how much money you have right now. I think that there's just like a standard of, we all need to find the things that make us feel grounded and just whole. And I think that with you, your music, that's something that, you know, it connects you to other people. I feel like it probably connects you to yourself in a way. And it's such a beautiful thing that you don't care about how, you know, because I can imagine that there's some people who, not shaming, but, you know, there's probably some people who record themselves like 50 times doing the same thing until they get the best one. And I can just imagine that as you're speaking about it, that you're the kind of person that you're doing it for you. And I think that's the biggest difference is like, when you do anything, you should always do it for you. And that's how it comes across genuine. Like, you don't even probably think about it, but like, we know who you are and we know that you're a genuine person. So like, your immediate people in your life know that that's the reason that you do it for yourself. And that's such a beautiful thing. And it's such an inspiring thing, you know? And I just wish that, I mean, it inspires me to find that for myself. I just started meditating, and that has changed my life. That's the one thing that I do every single day, even if it's for 5 minutes. And that's just the one thing that makes me feel like connected to myself and other people. And that's what I'm like, everyone should have their thing, especially right now. And I'm so grateful that you share that with all of us, because I don't know if you realize like how much just watching you share that with other people and not care about how it looks. You're doing it for you. And that's just so inspiring. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for what you're doing for your community. Just really, thank you, Tom.
Oh man, that's
Sorry, I know that makes you really uncomfortable. As you just said, that makes you so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Let me just flatter you and then make you more uncomfortable. So.
Man, that means the world. That's very kind, especially coming from you. Means a great deal.
Thank you. And I hope we can all find our things, whatever that is. You know, like I don't care if it's like puzzles, journal, like anything. I just feel like if everyone just can help find something that makes you feel good and just keep doing it, even if you're not that great at it, something that, I don't know. I think that's so great that you've always had that and you've always known that that's been that for you, you know?
That and basketball, we still got to play the wrong one.
Wow. Oh gosh, basketball is fun.
How long have you been meditating?
Interestingly enough, about just a few months.
Yeah.
But like it's just, I mean, it's interesting though, because like I've been doing yoga for years, like over 10 years. I wanted to be a teacher. Like yoga is something that I know how to do, and it's a beautiful thing. But it's funny, I was always really intimidated to try meditation. It's so weird. I feel like people just assume that I meditated because I was a traveler and I did yoga and I've been vegan for 10 years. Everyone's like, but it's funny because like me being alone with my thoughts, like, oh, no, we don't do that.
Yeah.
So
I know that feeling.
The first time I meditated, the first time I meditated, it didn't go that well at all. And I actually had a panic attack, and I was like, wow, that's how far away I am from myself, that like 1 minute with my thoughts drove me to an anxiety attack.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And then, but as I said, but then I was like, this is silly to say that, you know, meditation is like scientifically proven to literally help rewire your nervous system. If that's what, you know, because that's what anxiety does. Basically, you don't breathe properly, so your nervous system gets all jumbled up, and as you can imagine, that causes a lot of physiological problems. So it was like kind of silly to be like, okay, I'm not going to meditate because that happened to me once. So then I just stuck at it every single day. And not gonna lie, there are some days when I'm just like, I'm checked out and I'm not fully there and I don't reap the benefits that I should. But I just keep instilling in myself, I'm like, every single day, there's power in one small task every single day. You're going to get better at it. You want to do a cartwheel? Try it every single day. And I don't know where this mentality came from, but I'm like, I'm someone who I get very, I want to do too much. Like, I'm like, okay, so tomorrow I'm gonna clean the whole house, and then I'm gonna make my meals for the week, and then I'm gonna wash my car. And it's like, realistically, though, that's not possible. And then you don't do any of those things, and then you beat yourself up over it. So once I realized that that is problematic, I was like, let me slow down a little bit. Slow down. What is a realistic thing that I can do every day? Okay, 15 minutes of meditation every single day is absolutely plausible. And I don't have any excuses for myself anymore. And it's something little like that, but holding myself accountable, showing up for myself every single day. It's like, oh, wait, I'm not a piece of crap because I'm doing it every day. So that other thing I've wanted to do my whole life, I can do that. You know, I don't know. It's just like this.
It's a building block for yourself a little bit.
Yeah. And I just didn't realize how significant that was. You know, you hear people say stuff like that, you know, but I just didn't realize, like, it's changed my life. You know, I literally, like I was saying before about the perception of like, I'm able to find the negative in everything right now, and then trying to change that magically to like see the positive. That's really hard, but it takes work, and you're able to do that. But I personally believe it's like all these little things that just kind of, you know, build up to giving you a mindset that can make you view things in a bit more a positive way. It's not the switch that negative positive. That's how I view it. And the more I get into mental health, it's not so black and white. I'm going to start school in a few months. So I'm already reading and learning all different styles of therapy that I will be implementing. And it's open, because it's like every single human being is different. And there's not this one way to fix everyone. But that's my kind of thought process, is like, work on healing myself in all these different ways. Because by the time I'm a therapist, like, I can help people who have, I just always felt really weird about people giving me advice or helping me when they haven't experienced it themselves. And that's not to take away from that. That's how I feel.
Of course, yeah.
So even in a therapy setting, it's kind of like, why would I trust that you can help me with my mental health issues if you've never dealt with your own? So I talk about my mental health issues very openly because I want people to be more comfortable. It's just, I feel like everyone suffers with some mental health issues to an extent. It's just whether you want to admit it to yourself and others, really. But that's where I talk about it openly, and I just hope that by the time I'm a therapist, that people can understand that it's like, oh, I've been exactly where you've been. Yeah. I managed to pull myself out of it this way, and we can help you do the same thing. That is just the way I hope that I can give back to. I don't know. I take it very seriously. I always just want to help people. And I'm like, this sounds like the best way that I can like help people is being a therapist, even though I know it's very overwhelming and you have to learn how to establish boundaries so that you work well. Because like you said earlier, you can't help people until you help yourself type of thing. You know, it's helping others is this weird thing. We lose much of ourselves in that. And I think it's really important to make sure that, you know, we have to be well before we can genuinely help other people be well as well.
Well, I mean,
sorry, that was my rant about mental health, but that's how I feel. I feel very strongly about it, especially right now, because I feel like a lot of people are just not feeling well and never have been able to acknowledge what anxiety feels like or depression feels like or things like that. And it's pretty scary. It's a scary time. And then your body's reacting and you don't know. And that's why it's important, I think, to have conversations like this. So thank you for being open to listening to and conversing about things like this, you know?
Of course, everything. I mean, you know, I wasn't going to go out of my way to bring it up, but I think another reason that you and I connected is like, we were able to be pretty honest about being, you know, closeted nervous wrecks, you know, pretty much time.
Exactly.
And I mean, what I think is, in my layman perspective, is even more profound than you kind of saying, in order to help others, one has to help themselves. I think even more so than that, I think it's very clear, based on just what you were kind enough to share with me and with us, is your perspective is going to come from a very genuine place. And I think no matter what someone does with their lives as a hobby or a career or anything, I think that's what people latch on to the most, is kind of those origins. And I think that defines a lot of friendships and certainly professional relationships. And I think I don't think there's a limit to what you can do, especially with such a clear big picture perspective of what you want to do for yourself and others. So I mean, ton of respect for that. And man, sky's the limit, I'll tell you that. I think we froze, or I just.
It's a weird thing being trying to. Sorry.
No, I thought you froze, or I just like really offended you. It sounded like it just looked like really very.
The second one. I'm always really offended by everything, so.
Right.
Probably true. You know me.
Man, Melody, there is one particular story I kind of wanted to close on. Well, one, to this day, not that I do it very often, but to this day, I can't wear a temporary tattoo without thinking of you. That's the truth. That's one thing that you have like claimed in my life, is just like, I remember getting those lame 4-print tattoos and just throwing them on.
Yes! Oh my God, I have temporary. So great. Oh, I can't. Okay, my brain is going. I'm like, oh, I have so many ideas now. Sorry. Yes, okay.
To this day, like somebody will have tattoos, I'll be like, wonder how Melanie's doing, you know? And I'm just like, all right. It's very involuntary, it really is.
So funny. Wow. Yeah, the 4-print. So, okay, first of all, where did those come from? The temporary.
From you. I don't know it. I can confidently say that you did check out these tattoos I have, and I was just like, cool.
It was like the printing company, I think, gave it to us, and then Emily and I had way too much fun. And then they had the cool ones, but then it was just their brand name, like their logo, some random company that we were representing.
Right, and that's where Melanie's an angel, because she took one for the team, because everyone else got like cool ones, and and Melanie just said, in fairness, like she might have already had a couple on her, but like all that was left was like a cool one and then like the logo. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'll take the logo. And she's like, no, I'll take the logo. And I got like a cool one. And then Melody just had like literally the logo of this organization like temporarily tattooed on her body.
It's so funny because I think I have a photo of that somewhere. So if I find it, I'm gonna send it to you. I think I saved it in my Snapchat memories because I was like, this is a memory that I'm gonna want to look back on. And I saw it randomly like last year, and I was like, what is this? I was like, I didn't remember where it's from, so I just pieced that all together. So thank you for that.
Oh man, yeah. Well, certain things you don't forget, man. I also remember, this is not the story I want to end on either, but let me know if you remember this. This might be the only one where it's just like, no, I don't remember that. You know, do you remember when we had like that office meeting when we were about to leave for the new office in Bayshore from Babylon? And Wayne said that you don't want old people like me and Shawnee setting up computers, and just like completely like threw Shawnee under the bus. Like intentionally.
Wait. Okay, wait. Shawnee sounds so familiar. Can you remind me who that is? Who she is? Who was she?
She was the really kind facilitator with like the really like soothing voice, kind of like really kind of high pitched, like, but like.
Did she come to the next office or did she leave?
She came to the next office for a while, by all means, yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna have to. I like vaguely remember. I'm gonna have to like do some Facebook creeping or something to. But I do remember. I remember the name, and I remember.
Whatever.
I do remember that though, because she's not old.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and Wayne just like unintentionally just like defecated all over this poor woman who would give you the shirt off her back. Like it was awful, and it was awful. And
That's so
Wayne's,
funny because I remember.
Wayne's a brilliant man in so many ways. And I'm not saying this for the benefit of it being public, but some of those like nuanced, like personal things, like Wayne just plows right through. And I say that with a lot of respect for the man. And that was one of the instances where he just freaking plowed right through it. And so I audibly go, ah, you know, and immediately, because I'm a child, like I look at Mike and Tal, and they're both like, you know, like stop, you know what I'm saying? Like stop making me laugh. But number 3 on my list of people that I have to look at is like I'm trying to catch Melody's eye, and I just see Melody like I wish I could do an impression of it. It might not translate over Zoom, but like Melody is just like, and you can tell like she's trying to like zen and like not think about what just happened. And I know in my heart, this is one of the few instances where I feel very confidently that I can speak for you. I know that you were thinking to yourself, like, don't look at him. Don't look at him.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I just couldn't because then we were going to lose it.
I know for a fact that Melody heard me laugh and said, like, motherfucker, if you make me laugh, like, I'm gonna kill you.
As I said, we would always get in trouble. Like, I feel like, Tom, as individuals, you and I are people that don't, like, cause any, like, don't ruffle feathers. We abide by all of the rules and laws, like, just both of us as individuals. But when you put us together, I don't understand what happens because we're not being reckless or anything like that. But it's just like weird thing where like everything we do, we just end up looking like we're goofing around. And I think that's a reputation that we got, that like they're not taking it seriously. So I was like, I'm not gonna look at you and then burst out laughing because the office probably already thought I didn't work because they probably thought I just like was like Tom and I just laugh all day. Not feeding into that. That's so funny.
Yes, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that face. If I could get a coffee mug with that look of dread and focus.
I'm impressed that I managed to do that though. I thought I would have burst out laughing because I didn't look. I'm glad I didn't.
You held it up. Because again, I was not being like I was like trying to will you to look up. I was like, look at me.
Oh my God.
Very good. Very good. Ah, man. Story I want to close on though is one night you went to see a concert and you sent me a Snapchat that said, you know, hey, do you know the name of this song? And the song was, oh dear, I know what it's called, but I might say the part that's in parentheses and not the actual name of the song. But the Glory of Love from Say Anything.
Alive with the Glory of Love, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, Melanie sends me this little Snapchat clip and says, hey, do you know the name of this song? And I happen to know the name of the song. And so I sent it back and it was just like, oh, good, you know? And like, that was the whole exchange. Like, believe me, in terms of the night itself, like, that was the night. You enjoyed your concert. I enjoyed whatever I was doing, this, that, or the other thing. We get to that Monday and we're talking because, you know, we talk every day. And I literally start saying to you that, how was the show? And you're like, yeah, it was good. And I'm like, I start saying, yeah, to be honest, that's the only Say Anything song I know. And what I start to say is because I play it on my ukulele sometimes, but I don't play it often because I don't know any other songs. And I get a little uncomfortable playing songs when I don't know the band well, because my big concern is like somebody's gonna come up and say like, wow, like you like Say Anything too, and then like you're either in a situation where you have to fake it, or you have to tell them like, actually no, I don't, you know, and it's just like, what the fuck, bro, you know, like, you know, you can't, and so it's not a song I play publicly.
Oh my God.
But anyway, I start to say that to you, and you say, yeah, it was good, except they played it all slow and like a ballad, which sucked. I really hated it. And literally, like when I play it on my ukulele, which really is never, especially now, it's like all slow and like a ballad. And I was just like, oh yeah, that sucks. You know, like I just like totally 180'd in myself. I'm just like, oh, I'm so sorry they played it that way. I'm sure that
Oh my
version
God.
like that really was awful, you know?
Oh my God, that is hysterical.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
I
That
tried,
is so funny. That is so funny.
I tried to leave as quickly as possible or like change the subject. I don't even remember. That was probably another instance where I blacked out a little bit. But I was just like, oh yeah, how frustrating.
Oh my God. See, that's like the downside of having a filter, because it's like I think that I mean no harm, but then I'm just like whatever is on my mind is just gonna come out of my mouth. And like it didn't cross my mind to think that like maybe that was a thing at all. It's like, no, this song. So I mean, I just like shit all over things, and then it's like, oh wait, maybe that person liked that a little bit, and then now I feel bad. And then I had to like backtrack. No, that's my life, Tom. So I'm glad I'm gonna start being more aware of these things. I'm just gonna tread very lightly, like, oh yeah, it's like maybe not my thing, and then just kind of like wait for their reaction, and then like take it from there.
Well, it's safe to say that we both learned a lot from each other. That must be true.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. God, I haven't laughed this hard in so long. My face hurts. Thank you, Tom.
Well, thank you, man. Melanie, it was such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for joining me on the Corn Chronicles. The search continues. As I plug the show. That 3 people watch. Yeah.
I watch.
Hey, cool. Right on. 4. Melanie, thank you so much. Such a pleasure talking to you, and we'll talk again soon. My best to Hans, your mother, Nick Lachey. You know, no.
Tell James I said what's up.
Yeah, I sure will.
And Michael. I forgot about him again.
No. Maybe I'll try and get a Zoom with all 4 of us just sipping coffee. You know, that would be.
And I'm like a Canada flag just behind me, just wearing like Canadian. I'm just gonna do it all up. Oh no.
Man, I don't have a beaver costume, but I can see if I can make one up real quick. Yeah. Man.
You guys, I'm gonna make you guys are doing that Christmas card. I'm putting that I'm manifesting that.
Yeah.
You and James in your holiday card. I can't wait. I'm
gonna pretend I don't want to do it, but secretly I think I would love to see that finished product.
I can't wait. Oh man. I can't wait to see you again in New York when everything is normal, and I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
And I know you're taking care of yourself, so I will see you soon.
Yeah. Well, you too. Thank you so much, Melanie. Have a good one.
Bye, John.
Bye-bye.